Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about tips on letting go of your ex so you can start to feel better today. Okay, so a lot of these things are mindset shifts, right? So the things that you need to come to within yourself, and you need to really think about these things, because obviously letting go of someone is an internal thing. So it's something that you need to focus on internally as well in order to feel better about it, right? So one of the things that I want to talk about is a mindset shift that you can get to if you start thinking about the relationship and how it was leading up to the breakup, right? Because one of the truths about exes and what happens sometimes when people get back together with their ex is that it doesn't last very long, right? So when two people split up and they reconcile, within a few months they usually break up again, and it's usually for the last and final time. And the reason why that is because things haven't changed, right? Things haven't changed. So, and the reason they get back together in the first place is because they look back on the relationship with nostalgia, and they perhaps only pick out the good things of that what that relationship was, right? So when they get back together, they've completely forgotten about, or they've blinded themselves by the past and all the good things, and have failed to look at the things that made it difficult, right? And this is something that I did, right? So I was in a relationship when I was about 21, and we split up. I broke up with her because she cheated on me, right? But within a few weeks, within like the first month, I got back together with her, right? A really dumb move on my part, right? And the reason why I did that was because I was looking back on the relationship with nostalgia. I was looking at the good things. I wasn't focusing on the hurt, right? And also because I had such a low self-image back then, all I wanted really was to just be in a relationship, right? I was like, okay, this will do, right? But I wasn't looking back on the hurt, right? And it wasn't until it happened again that things actually I really left for good, right? And I think also there was a part of me that felt like, oh, I could change this. Maybe she won't do it again, right? But it's not something that typically cheaters do. Most cheaters stay as cheaters. I'm not saying it's all the time. I'm just saying most of the time a cheater is always going to cheat, right? If they're given the opportunity to. So, but that's why sometimes people get back together with their exes, right? And that's how, both people are looking back on the relationship with nostalgia, but unfortunately it does actually usually end up where they break up again and they never get back together, okay? So that's something that can help you let go, because you got to realize, you got to look back not just on the relationship with nostalgia. You got to look back on the bad things. You got to look back on the arguments, the things that didn't work. Because usually when a breakup happens, both people are thinking about breaking up, right? It's more likely that both people were thinking about breaking up than there was one that was just totally head over heels and wasn't expecting the breakup at all, wasn't thinking about breakup, where it was just one person that totally wanted the breakup. But sometimes breakups can seem like, oh, only one person wanted it, because it's usually just one person doing the breaking up that's, basically putting the final nail in the coffin and saying, this is over, this is it, right? But usually both people are thinking about it, right? Usually, there's one that is sort of thinking about it, maybe not as much as the other person, but they're thinking, oh yeah, it'd be really nice if I could go back to my old life. I sometimes miss being single, I sometimes miss having my freedom, or whatever it is that they're thinking about, right? So there's usually one person that's already thinking that, right? And then there's the other person who actually is thinking about it a lot, right? And they're the one to break things off, or they get fed up for whatever reason, and that's why they break up with that person, right? So what can happen then is that when these two people get back together, both of them realize that, hey, nothing's changed, and now the person that maybe got dumped is now the one that breaks up the relationship, right? Because they realize things haven't changed, and actually they didn't mind it when they did break up and they was single again, right? So there's many things that can come into play here. right? But that can really help letting go once you realize that, hey, you know what? That relationship wasn't that great. There was a lot of arguments. I even wanted to leave myself at some points, right? So you got to realize that, hey, you know what? This wasn't great for me. And that's a mindset that you can get to. But you got to really think back on the relationship, and you got to think about those bad times, even if it's uncomfortable to do so, because it's nicer and it's easier to daydream about the good times, right? It's nice to do that kind of thing, but it takes a lot of mental strength to look at the ugliness of a relationship. But if you do, it frees you. It helps you let go, because you realize that it wasn't perfect, and maybe breaking up was actually for the best. And maybe even if you got dumped, that person did you a favor by breaking up with you, right? And that's kind of like the conclusion that you need to get to that point where you actually feel like, yeah, maybe it was a good thing that we broke up, right? And therefore, it's then easier to let go if you come to that conclusion. Another thing that can help is an abundance mindset, right? So one of the reasons why someone may find it very difficult to get over an ex is because they believe that they're not going to find anyone better. Like, oh yeah, I'm not going to find anyone as better looking than my ex. I'm not going to find anyone that loves me as much as my ex, right? And this was something that I thought for a long time after I broke up with my first girlfriend, right? It wasn't until I met my wife that I actually realized, whoa, I didn't know anyone could actually love me that much, right? Like, I think I described this in a different video, but I said something like, when I met my wife and we got into a relationship, it kind of opened up a whole different realm for me. Like, I didn't even realize I could be loved that much. And again, that probably stemmed from a lot of self-esteem issues that I had growing up, and I probably felt like, oh, I deserve to be with someone that cheats on me. And when I met my wife and she loved me in a whole different new way, where I didn't realize anyone could love me that much and care for me that much, that it made you see how bad you really felt about yourself in a way, right? And it makes you see that it made me see that I had a total belief that I wouldn't find anyone as good as my ex, right? I had a total belief of that. But when I did, it changed my world, changed my life, changed my worldview, it changed my view about myself, right? And that's what true love can actually do for you when you meet someone who's actually really, really good for you and really does care about you unconditionally and really loves you, right? It's just a whole new world, as the Aladdin movie says, right? Right? So you got to have an abundance mindset. You got to believe that there's someone out there for you that is better than your ex, right? You have to get to that point. You have to have faith that you can find someone better, right? You got to have that belief and that faith that you can do that, okay? Because if you feel like you're not going to get anyone better than your ex, it's going to keep you stuck on your ex, okay? Essentially. So another thing though is that you got to give yourself time, because it's not going to be like an overnight thing, right, to get over your ex. It's going to take time. You're never really going to forget about your ex either. Like, you'll be driving in your car one day and a song will come on the radio and it'll remind you of them. Or you'll be, driving past a restaurant that you two used to go to a lot or something like that. You're not going to forget about them, but you will eventually, your feelings will become less intense over time and you will start to feel better eventually, okay? So, but you got to give yourself time, okay? So if you're with someone for a long time, let's say like a year plus, then it's probably going to take about a year or so to get over them, right? But that's cool. Like, you want that. You want to have time on your own. You want to have time to refresh. You want to have time to, start enjoying your own company, because a lot of people go from one relationship straight into another and have lots of rebound relationships or monkey branch from relationships when they are... They are afraid of being single and they don't like their own company because they have self-esteem issues. They don't know how to use their time productively or wisely, and they feel crummy about themselves, basically. And if you feel crummy about yourself and you don't like being alone and you need validation that someone loves you and adores you, then yeah, you're going to monkey branch from relationship to relationship and you're going to have rebounds. But you want to avoid that, right? You want to avoid that. You don't want to do that to yourself. Okay, so therefore you give yourself the time. You start to enjoy your own company, enjoy your time being single. And it's usually when you start to really enjoy being single that someone comes into your life that changes your world and is the right person for you. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you would like to get in touch with me personally and you would like coaching with me, then please go to www.christineloveridge.com. Thank you so much for watching, and if you would like me to discuss something in a future video, then please leave it down in the comments, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.